Friday. You told us about that coming up last week. What were your overall thoughts about the performance out there? Anybody particularly shine?
It's hard for me to do that, because there's a number of guys I could mention. But overall, I was happy with the work that we got done. I think I've mentioned you guys before. We're thin on the O-line, so we had to be creative. Usually you go ones and then twos and then threes. Really, we got one O-line right now, so we would go 1-0 and then go special teams and then come back with the 2-0 to give the O-line a little bit of a blow, and kind of went back and forth. So we got a bunch of special teams work, which was really good. We did mainly with the 3s and 4s, did Skelly and things like that. But I was pleased with the work that we were able to get done. We got great film. And the O-linemen that are going are getting great work, and their attitudes have been really good. So that's been positive. I've seen the defense each day get more and more confident with what we're doing. And we got some pretty good competition going on right now at the kicking spot. So it's been good overall.
You had mentioned potentially changing the blue-white format because of the O-line. Have you given that, do you have any idea in mind of what you want to do?
Yeah, I want to make it as game-like as I possibly can, but it's hard to say that right now. As the game gets closer, we'll have some scrimmage aspect, whether it will be a 2-sideline game like we've done in the past. I'm not sure. I don't know if you guys remember early on, we did that. We ran the O-line. They were in gray jerseys, and they ran from one sideline to the other throughout the game. So we'll look at that, but we got some time to get some guys back, but we also may lose some guys. It doesn't make sense to make a whole lot of plans right now when we're still over a week out.
James, a couple of you guys, Brent and Keandre this week, talked about the advantages of being in their second spring under the same coordinator. Have you seen areas where that's been very helpful after some crazy things the last couple of years prevented that from happening?
Yeah, and I think Sean, me and Sean actually talked about that today at practice. Just we were talking about some of the other quarterbacks, in terms of operationally, being comfortable with how to, run the offense. What checks to make from a protection standpoint. Just being comfortable where it's more second nature, and I think Sean's in a really good spot right now as well. So yeah, I think in general for a lot of guys, there's value. As you know, consistency is important, and we're going to do everything we possibly can to try to keep as much consistency as we possibly can under the current model of college football, which is challenging. But I think we've been able to do some budget things in my last contract to help with that.
How big of a plus is having Sean back, given the relative youth of the rest of the guys in your quarterback room?
Yeah, I think obviously whenever you can have a returning quarterback come back, that's really valuable. Obviously, Vayu was able to get some playing time last year and a significant playing time in one specific game and played well, but it's still one game, compared to a couple years of experience. So that helps. I think he's also been really helpful, with the two young quarterbacks. He's got a really good football IQ, plus he works at it, and it's really important to him. I know some of the new staff members that we've had have been really impressed with him, at the line of scrimmage with protections and some of the run game stuff that he takes a lot of pride in. So I think it's been really good.
Because his schedule's going to be different in the fall than it's been in the past, it's going to be a lot lighter. Do you anticipate that he's going to have more of a hands-on role with you guys in terms of maybe with Mike, hey, I feel really good about this, or I like this? Do you envision that kind of playing out maybe in the store?
I wasn't following you what you were saying at first when you said it was going to be a lighter schedule. I thought you were talking about ours with opening with Purdue on the road and then an SEC
Thursday night.
Yeah. So I thought that's what you were talking about. I was like, interesting. But yeah, I think so. A lot of these seniors, you try to play it out that way, where either they put themselves in position to get a master's and finish a master's, or it's a situation where they're able to save one class and only have to take 1 or 2 classes in the fall for graduation, which is ideal. And now he's in a situation, I think, to get a second degree and play it out that way. So, yeah, I think that would be really helpful. But he's always been a guy that's kind of lived in the office anyway. But this will help that even more.
It's also year 2 for the offensive line in Mike Pearson's system. So how is the situation up front with limited bodies helped or hindered their ability to adapt in the second year of the offense?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the guys that are missing reps, you prefer that not be the case. But I'd also say that the other thing that I think we've done a pretty good job of being creative. Is what you really have to be careful is that it doesn't limit the development of a bunch of other positions. When one position is really challenged from a depth perspective, it makes it really hard to practice the way you want to practice, and then other units and other positions get impacted by it. So I think we've managed it pretty good. Obviously, the guys that are missing reps, we prefer that they didn't. There's also some guys that we're going to be dependent on that are going to get here in the summer as well, and we're going to have to get them caught up as soon as we possibly can. But I know the guys that are getting reps have really done a nice job, and we're playing physical, and I've been really impressed with our commitment to the running game. We've really done a good job of emphasizing that to take some of that off of Sean. There's going to be some situations like the Cotton Bowl where maybe he misses a couple throws and you want to take some pressure off him and run the ball. And I think we'll put ourselves in better position to do that this year at times.
I don't imagine that you're being passive in the new AD search. If you were pitching to me what you want, what are the 3 boxes that you want out of whoever replaces him?
Yeah, I would say bold and aggressive is something that I think is really important. I think a really good understanding nationally. And again, I can only speak for football, right? But a really good understanding about what we're truly competing against week in and week out. And then the ability to maybe, get some things done from a policy and procedure standpoint on campus that don't affect or impact the university, but it could have a significant impact on athletics and specifically football, to streamline some things, maybe be a little bit less bureaucratic with some things. That kind of goes back to the alignment thing that I've said before.
Coach, you have some new off-field staffers both in your recruiting department and the...
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the beginning.
That's okay. You have some new off-field staffers here both in your recruiting department and in the analyst room. How do you think recruiting's gone during spring practice, both as it relates to having kids on campus, but also looking in the transfer portal as well?
Yeah, I think it's gone well. It's hard for me to compare and contrast because although last year NIL was implemented, it was really in the infancy stages. We saw it a little bit, but not a lot. It's such a factor now that you could do everything right and do everything perfect and out-recruit everybody, but you could lose a guy because of NIL opportunities. So it's hard for me to compare and contrast because that's just such a new dynamic that we're going to have to be aggressive and bold with as well. With the transfer portal, that's another thing. Obviously we got some good news last week, but we're going to have to continue to look at that. And after spring ball, I hope we don't lose anybody. But if you look around the country, that happens after spring ball. So we'll have to have our antennas up. We're actually currently scheduling all of our end of the year meetings, so all of our players will meet with their position coaches before they go on the road recruiting, which is something they've not had to deal with for the last couple of years. And then I do something which I love and hate, is meet with every single player on the team. I love it because it allows me to get great perspective on our team and listen to them and get one-on-one time with each player, which they don't always get from me, but it's also a grind. 120 players or whatever the number is right now. And you're talking about between 20 and 30 minutes for each one of them, so it's a grind.
What's impressed you about Tinsley so far?
Yeah, I just think his maturity stands out. He's refined in terms of how to run routes, very consistent catching the ball. He's steady Eddie. He's just, he's what you'd expect from a veteran who, I don't know, was in the top 10 in receiving yards in the country, I think, right? I think he had like 1,400 yards receiving last year. In an offense that threw it every single down. I think it was illegal to run the ball, but still had great production. And that shows up. And I think, this spring was really important for him to lay a foundation. And then I think this summer, will be huge. Not only from an offensive perspective, but also I just think our strength and conditioning program and our speed program that he's going to be involved with this summer, I think will be really impactful for him.
James, Keandre yesterday was talking a lot about how he's grown mentally. Can you just kind of speak
speak to where he's come since his first days on campus to now?
Yeah, I'm proud of Keandre. You know, he's always been a really talented guy. Very prideful. I have found that prideful coaches and prideful players, they're usually so prideful because they care so much and they're invested. But that also can make it challenging sometimes when they don't have the success that they want or are getting some criticism, whether it's constructive criticism or not. And I think that's where he's probably grown as much as anything. He used to be, a little bit up and down emotionally as a young player, like a lot of young players are. And I've just seen him, be more consistent, more like Mitch in terms of steady Eddie. And I think you're going to see his role, increase, and I think you're going to see his production increase. I'm really pleased with him overall.
Thank you,
He's
Coach.
doing really well in school.
Thank you, Coach.